What is up,
Woohoo!
everybody? It's your boys Gin and Juice back at it again. And today we're doing something a little bit different. This is like a podcast, like our own show, something that Jen and I used to do a while back live, where we had live commentary. Now we're going to do it a little bit different. It's going to be pre recorded. We really want to make sure people are engaging in the comments. So if you ever have any questions or want us to talk about certain things, make sure you leave them
Down
in the
below.
comments below. But yeah, this is just going to be us talking about the hobby, our experiences, and things like that. One of the big things that I did want to just make it known, and kind of why I wanted to start this, I think Jen and I are the truly some of the only ones in the hobby that have spent a tremendous amount of money opening up products of our own dollar amount. We're not backed by anybody. We're not backed by Panini. We're not backed by Tops. We're not backed by any of these big companies. So we're very transparent in what we talk about and how we are going to be going forward in this. So, without further ado, for those of you that are new and you don't know who we are, Jen, go ahead and introduce yourself and give them a little bit of background about yourself.
All right. Guess obviously we're gin and juice, but I'm Drew. Started out Juice got me into Pokemon, and then we kind of transitioned from there to sports, and then now I'm more into the TCG side of things while still dabbling in some sports. So maybe not so much the modern sports stuff, but looking for more of my Grail and PC stuff.
There you go. Yeah, you're a big Tom Brady guy, but you're also a
Hmm.
big Pokemon guy. So it's kind of crazy. You got a nice, beautiful Pokemon collection, then you got some vintage baseball, some Brady stuff that you
Yep.
want to get. So it's gonna be kind of nice. It's gonna be really good. And for those of you that don't know me, I am Juice, part of Gin and Juice Lootbox TV. I'm a big collector of anything Arizona Wildcats. So any Arizona Wildcat that has played in the NBA or NFL, I try to collect those cards. Mostly basketball. I'm a big basketball guy. I also do collect still a little bit of Pokemon, nothing too crazy. I also collect some Star Wars stuff, and I've been known to binge and open up a lot of wax, um, which is a really bad habit that I try not to do anymore.
Die hard Eagles fan,
Diehard Eagles fan.
along with
Any
Cowboys.
Here we go. See, you should have never. You should have never started with that. You should have never started with that. But yeah, so what we have in store today is going to be recapping 2024 for Lootbox TV. There's a lot of big events that happened during the 2024 year
Yep.
that we just want to talk about, and kind of the state of the hobby, because it feels like the hobby ebbs and flows and it's like a roller coaster of events. And I feel like a lot of things have happened, and I just want to go ahead and talk about it and get it
And
out
then it's
there.
also a very interesting transition period for a lot of things. So it'll be interesting to see what the next couple years bring as we
Yeah.
end the legacy that we see now and enter a new
Yeah.
era.
100% correct. And then, to top it off, to finish it off, to land the plane, I guess there's multiple ways you can say it. Kind of like what you just hinted at is to finish and what's coming in 2025 and beyond. So let's go ahead and jump into, the first part. Let's do a little recap of Lootbox in 2024. We started off, we are an opening channel. We started opening up a ton of product.
Yep.
And then in 2024, a big event happened for us. We hit 100,000 subscribers. So shout out to
Woohoo!
everybody who's subscribed to the channel. You guys subscribe to the channel to watch us rip wax. Anywhere starting with Pokemon all the way through the sports card stuff and beyond. And it's
Yep.
been fantastic. However, another big thing that happened in 2024 was we really took a step back from opening up wax.
Yep.
And the reason for that is opening up product is, from an investment standpoint, from maybe a making money standpoint, it's probably the
Not the best.
worst thing you could do. We would sit there and rip and rip and rip, and I've kind of said this out loud plenty of times, and it's hard to always to talk about it because I was an idiot. But famously, there was like one month where I dropped like 130 grand just on product, and I got absolutely cooked.
But
And
but the side of that is, we give the advice of not to buy the wax and open it, right?
true,
But obviously we are a content channel.
yep,
So in order to make content, we have to open product. And obviously if it was our choice, we probably would just buy the cards, but
yep,
that wouldn't be fun. So we took the hit and the gamble and showed you guys the realities of opening product and opening wax. Because, you know, a lot of the stuff you see on YouTube, you can be edited just to show the
Oh yeah.
hits and kind of not give you a false sense of what is behind the product. And like you said in the beginning, you know, all of these products we bought was our own money. We would get some deals from, you know, the shops that we frequently buy from, but they weren't like anywhere near like getting it at distributor costs.
Yeah, we're talking like
Yeah.
10% off. Like, hey,
Yeah.
cover your tax. Like, it wasn't like anything monumental from a discount standpoint.
Hmm.
And that's nothing against the shops too. Like the shops are working on extremely tight margins, especially during this modern time. I mean, distributors and Tops Now or Tops Direct, whatever it is, and Panini Direct, they all raise their prices up to match the market, and little by little, they're chopping away at the profits of a lot of these card shops. So
Hmm.
it's hard for them to give deals. One of the things Jen did bring up, like we've been hinting at and talking about this entire time, we've been spending our own money. Not once did we get any type of $30,000 to go spend on wax or anything like that to open up. Not once did we get anything from Panini or Tops to open up to share about. Anytime we did even promote a product, like we even did some repacks to open up, I still paid out of pocket for those, and I got a small discount for them, and there weren't anything crazy. So again, our money, our items, and so forth. But with that all being said, it wasn't very successful in the card return. When you open up product, you're not getting a ton in return. Um, YouTube never offset it. The money you make off of YouTube never offset it.
Oh no, not even close.
Yeah, and to give you guys an idea of how you make money on YouTube is all about views. And even all the other sports card related channels, they're not making a ton of money. Outside of paid memberships, if you remove that, and if you look at just people making money on YouTube from a opening standpoint or sports card channel standpoint, if somebody's getting, say, even 30 to 40,000 views a video, that is not a lot from a views standpoint. A lot of these individuals from watch time and views, you would have to be doing like 100K per video to make, call it like 70, 80 grand.
Right. And most of it, you know, is the sponsorships and the deals that you do outside of that,
Correct.
because you're a known channel or because you have a certain following, is where
Correct.
you can make up for all of the differences. But for like us, strictly on ad revenue, it's like, you know, not close to what we would spend in a month
Yeah.
opening wax.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to be transparent with you, I think the biggest month we've ever had was like 5 grand. And it was at the peak of like 2022 in March, where we were
Yep.
opening up. I think one week I did Flawless, one week you did Eminence, another week I did National Treasures, then you did National Treasures. And those boxes at the time were like 5 grand. So if we made 5 grand in an entire month, that was barely a video at that time.
Yeah, exactly.
So you would have to, like, those videos would have to get hundreds of thousands of views to make that insane money that you see other YouTubers have. That
Yep.
idea of what other YouTubers have and how much money they make is all based on views, not subscribers, not anything, but just views and watch time alone. Your other YouTubers out there in the sports card hobby that are getting 30 to 40,000 views, they're not making a ton of money off of ad revenue from YouTube. It's either memberships, paid sponsorships, or people buying into their breaks. And that's something Jen and I never did either. It was, we always break for ourselves.
We had our own jobs. This was
Yeah.
kind of like a secondary thing that we did. So we didn't have the focus to actually sit there, set up breaks, price out teams. Because you know, like doing PYTs and stuff like that is a lot of work, pricing out the teams based on like the players that you can pull and things like that.
Right.
So crunching that numbers is a lot more difficult and more time consuming than we had time for.
Very true. Very true. So with all that's some of the items that happened in 2024 for us. Positively, we hit that 100K. We're still invested in this community. We're collectors at heart first. We
Yep.
want to chase holy grails. We want to have those epic moments. The challenges that we had were the return on investment with opening wax, and it just became, I wouldn't say it's too much. It's just you at some point you realize like, hey, this is very stupid and it's not worth it.
Well, I
So
think also too the landscape was changing on
yeah,
YouTube, where like you said, like in the early 2022s, we could be opening product, whether it's the new Prism basketball, Prism football, and we would get a ton of views, and we would make some ad money, and it would be good. But as the years went, and then the pandemic was over, and then the landscape changed to like a lot more people opening products on YouTube and stuff like
yeah,
that. The views kind of went away unless we opened like a case of National Treasures. So
right.
we unless we did a case of Flawless. So only the big ticket items was really getting the draw, and so that's why we've kind of like repositioned ourselves and kind of like tweaked our channel here and there. And you could probably see that now with all of the amazing shorts that you put out. We do open some products here and there, and we try to mix in different types of content, because we started to realize, like, if we kept going down this one path, and not grow as a channel, then we would just be stuck here. And we want to hit that 100,000, the million, the 10 million, the 100 million subscriber uh, goal as our as our ultimate goal. So we got to adapt to the landscape.
You guys have been absolutely phenomenal, and it means the world. You all taking time out of your day to watch the stuff that we produce.
And it's always amazing to go to like the nationals, to go to shows, and then just have families come up to us and say like, "Hey, my son really likes watching you guys. He really enjoys getting into the hobby and stuff." And it's kind of like that. It's like we got to kind of like take a step back and realize that we need to grow the younger generation to become the next collectors. As we age
Yep.
out, eventually we'll need new blood into the hobby and to keep it to continue to grow. And so our hopes, as we make more of these kinds of videos, as we put out more content, is to just grow the hobby so that it can continue going
Yep.
forward.
Well said. Well said. Let's take a moment here and let's jump in and talk about the hobby, the state of the hobby. Let's kind of go through and dissect some of the good stuff. Some of the good things that I see in the hobby. You hit the nail on the head first is just the community. I think the card collecting community, both from a TCG standpoint and a sports card, is some of the all most awesome people I've ever met in my entire life. They truly care about the community that they're in. It's
Mhm.
so awesome to see. You mentioned at shows when parents and families and individuals come up and say, "Hey, you got us into collecting. We watch you guys every night." Things like that. That's awesome. But also at the same time is them understanding us and following our journey, and then they gift us of all people, with cards. Hey, we know you PC this guy. Here you go.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just like a cool thing. You would never stop to realize that someone would care so much about what you bring to the table, and it's just such an awesome thing to see. So the community is phenomenal. I love every single
Yeah,
one of you, and
nothing's
definitely
greater
appreciate
than hearing like parents say like, you know, it's a hobby that they can share with their kids.
it. Yeah,
They'll on the weekends, go to the card shop, buy a couple packs, open them together, see what players they get, who they can get, PC their favorite players, put them in their binders, and then the kids have like a collection that
yeah,
they're starting of players that they like or sports that they get into. So it's nice to hear that we've helped like parents and kids kind of have a new event to do together. So
yeah. Agreed, 100%. Um, Another part of the hobby that I think is relatively good is the amount of collectors and collector first mentality towards the end of the year. A lot of
mm,
times it was always about buying and selling.
yeah.
And I obviously that still plays a big role, but I've noticed a lot more individuals collecting here towards the end of the year, which is something that needs to be the focal point. Collecting first. If you want to make money in it, I'm all for it. Make money, but be a collector, understand, collect your cards, understand the card market, understand the different types of cards, parallels, variation by collecting. And then as you grow your collection and yourself and your knowledge, that buying and selling could come next, which is how it should be: the collecting first, buying, selling second.
Yeah. And you know, it's been an interesting year for sure. We've seen a lot less of the scalpers
Yeah.
and that stuff. So that's been good to see that supply has been steady enough that people can still get some products at the local stores
Yeah.
and like the big box places.
Well,
Prices,
shout out to like Walmart and Target for really putting a lot of
yeah,
effort into stopping a lot of that, which is
yeah.
really cool to see.
Yeah. And then a lot of the shops now have products. Some of it's obviously still high, but prices have come down a bit. And so hopefully that'll be. But it's been an interesting year because with the licensing issues and how
Cool.
things are going to change, kind of has put maybe this year and maybe next year into like a really fuzzy and awkward place, which may lead into like, you know, the ugly side or the bad side
I'm
of
so
the
happy
hobby.
you said it. I'm so happy you said that because guess what? Let's talk about the bad.
Oh, there's so much bad to talk
There's
about.
so much bad in the hobby. Let's start at the very top. Tops and Panini, you both of you companies are absolutely ridiculous. You
You guys are
both
doing a
are
disservice to the hobby. You guys know that,
1
right? Like,
million percent.
you guys are really going to hurt the hobby if you keep up what you guys are doing.
Well, Panini, they just don't care. They just don't care at all anymore. I don't know if anybody's ever seen Super Bad, but there's a famous line in there, and they say, "Kids, plug your ears." They say, "Fuck it, last 2 weeks." Boom. That's what Panini is doing. They don't care at all. They don't care about their quality control. They keep like Prism Football just added like 10 other parallels to an already ridiculous amount of parallels you can get for a quarterback or for a player in general. And then all of a sudden, their checklist doubled from what it was the year prior, which is an all time high to begin with. So Panini is just printing out, trying to get as much money as they can. Panini does not care whatsoever about the hobby at all. They could care
And,
less.
and we thought Tops Fanatics was going to come in and be our friend. And no, they are
No,
not. And
no.
from stores, you know, we've heard is, you know, like they'll release an allocation for you this week at this price. And then next week they release a little bit more and say, hey, you guys can buy some more of this popular product. But now, you know, it's like $300 more. And then the next week it's like, hey, you want some more? Here you go. But it's $100 more now. And so that rationing and increasing the price to, you know, feed into the market has been terrible. And these private signings with companies for
Oh,
players has made things like really terrible for the hobby because it's like, you know, even though Prism still has the license, they can't get a certain player because, oh, hey, Top signed an exclusive contract with them for their autographs. So now
yep.
their autos aren't in there, but then they're in only Topps products. And oh, Topps releases an unlicensed product with the
Ah,
Wimby autos. And then that,
ah.
you know, it's like, you know, they call it rookie, but, you know, it's not, you know, it depends. Like most people will look at it and say, no team logos, no nothing, not licensed, not official rookie.
Yep.
But by the time they get the licensing, it won't be his real true rookie year. So, like, it's going to create confusion. And so I don't know what they're doing. It's just that they're having a measuring contest.
A dick
And
measuring contest. Go ahead,
all
say it.
right, all right, all right. They're having a dick measuring contest, and nobody's gonna win in this hobby as a collector because it's just leaving a foul taste in everybody's mouth.
Yeah, and Tops was supposed to come to the table, like you said, and be our friend. They tried to make stores be on Fanatics Live only. Fanatics
Yeah,
Live is one of the worst rollouts of an app I've ever seen in my entire life. It's a horrible app, horrible experience. They're failing miserably at it. They did this Fanatics Card Fest or whatever it was. They did one thing in New York, and they were supposed to have it in Orlando. They delayed it because of the hurricanes. Meanwhile, Disney was open and a bunch of others. Then it comes out that they lost a bunch of money. Then they fired everybody, and now they're redoing it in New York again. So it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. There's no real transparency from them as we thought there was going to be. They're ending up doing the same exact practices as Panini. They're overprinting product like Panini is. They're just pushing out stuff like you mentioned with the unlicensed stuff, the autos, just to make a buck, just to stick it to Panini. They again, their mindset to this is like, all right, how can we make Panini look bad? In reality, both companies are just ruining the hobby for a ton of individuals.
And look
Um,
at what Tops does with Tops now. I mean,
oh my
any
god,
major thing. I have some Otani boxes, the 50-50. So we'll eventually open those and see if there's anything in there. That's gonna be
mm,
good. But every Tops now has been like chase this auto, chase
yeah,
that, chase this, Olympic card, and it's just been just kind of like almost like a money grab. Like
yep,
any event or anything that they can capitalize on, they're just going to print it and then try to make money by saying like, "Ooh, get 101 autos," and
yeah.
like,
And look, I bought into it too. Like
mhm.
I'm not going to sit here and say I haven't spent a bunch of money on product, but again, I'm trying to create content. We're trying to create content. We're trying to share our experiences, and we got to a point where we're like, okay, enough is enough. Like I'm not doing this anymore. Like it's legitimately just a terrible overall experience for the hobby. And Panini and Tops are the two companies that should be all about the hobby, and they're two of the biggest problems for the hobby.
And then I feel bad for the new collectors that come into this space confused, not knowing what
Yep.
to get, and easily taking advantage of thinking buying this product or buying that product, is going to yield them some kind of good return,
Yep.
and they realize I just wasted my money and
Yep.
I just burned a giant hole in my wallet. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. So, we talked about the two people at the top of the card creating a community, Tops and Panini. From a grading standpoint, I'm a big fan of grading cards. I know a lot of people aren't. I know a lot of people are up in arms with some of the grading companies, and
Well, I mean,
rightfully
you
so.
have you do have two camps. It's like,
Yeah,
they call them like, they might feel like they're the true collectors because they put them in binders versus,
yep,
the people who grade them, and then they'll say like, I'll never grade a card. But I mean, to be honest with you, if buying and selling cards, grading cards makes it a little bit easier to pin down a value
yeah,
for sure.
yeah, 100%. And it, pending down a value, and like when someone hears that, they're like, "Oh, you're just worried about the resale." Well, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're collecting something, there is going to be a value tied to it. Like they're both hand in hand. If you're collecting something, there's some type of value there, whether
Right.
you want to talk about it or not. They
Whether it's a
go hand in hand.
monetary value, yeah, exactly. Is it a monetary value or just like a sentimental value? It's some
Right.
kind of value. It's just where are you putting more of your emphasis on, like money or sentimental? Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of cards I've graded that have had like really low grades, but they were sentimental to me. Other cards I grade to sell to buy into cards that I want. So
There you go. And I grade cards myself for my PC and to resell. I do resell cards. I am now doing something on Whatnot, which I've talked before in the past that I wasn't ever a big fan of Whatnot. I'll openly say it. But I always talk positively about the platform in the sense of the technology. It was the people in that platform. And what I've learned in 2024, um, there's bad people everywhere.
yeah.
There's bad people everywhere. Not to jump around because I do want to come back and talk about grading companies, but just to hit a point here, whether it's eBay, Facebook Marketplace, Instagram, going to the card shows, whatnot, there is going to be bad individuals everywhere. It's on the provider or the platform to make a response and do something about it. And over in 2024, the only company that I've really seen step up and say something about a lot of the issues that come up on their platforms has been Whatnot. They've
Yeah.
taken some type of uh,
Action.
action, taking ownership of those actions and work to resolve issues that come up. You can't say that for eBay. You can't say that for Instagram. No one's policing Instagram or any of these Facebook groups. You can't really police even Discords. So, I mean, shit, kudos to Whatnot for stepping up and taking care of a lot of bad things that, came up in 2024 with either missing cards or breakers being idiots and things
Yeah.
like that. So,
Yeah.
shout out to them. But getting back to the graded card piece, I love collecting graded cards. I personally am not a fan of the binders. I physically want to touch it. I want to see it. I do want that value on it. That's just who I am. That's how I am.
Makes it
And
easier to display.
100%. And I'm not a big fan of all these other grading companies and
Right.
everybody grading with these other grading companies. I think it's like getting into like the beauty supply business or t-shirt business or one of these other big time businesses that have a large reach, and you have a product that is the same as somebody else's, and you're trying to get into this you're trying to roll out a product that is already there through other companies that already have established relationships and established customers, and you're trying to bring value to your product, which is the same everywhere else. It's just no one knows your product, so why go to
Right.
towards it? And I get it. I'm all for people being businesses and entrepreneurs, but that particular piece, from a grading standpoint, I only see three grading companies in my eyes, and this might even be controversial to most: is PSA, uh, um, SGC, and Beckett.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm not a fan of what is it, CGC or whatever. I know they've been big with Pokemon, but I'm not a big fan with them. I think Beckett in their black label is one of the best cards you can get in the hobby. The Chase Black Labels is one of the coolest things in the world. SGC, from a vintage standpoint, they have their place. It's phenomenal. And then PSA is number one across the board, period. It's not
Yeah,
even close.
I kind of agree. I think like PSA is top dog as it always is. BGS, maybe not so much for the sports side of things, but definitely for the
Sure.
TCG side of things, black labels. If you can get it, I mean that's like the holy grail of cards. But I feel like we can't dismiss. I feel like I don't want to dismiss some of the newer companies that are coming up.
That's fair.
The potentials that they offer. For a while, PSA did have a backlog and issues and things like that. A lot of that has come down, but you know, consistency and things like that. I feel like some of the shortcomings the other companies have, that if someone can make it up, I see the potentials there. Now,
Oh,
obviously, I'm not going to throw all of my eggs in that basket, but I will definitely keep my eyes on some of the up and coming grading companies to see. And it'll take some time to see whether they'll still be around or not.
but
I
see,
kind of
here,
I kind of miss the blue labels of CGC just because I do have some graded comics and I graded some Marvel cards with them. So having that was nice at that time. But we'll see what happens with the future of these companies.
so like for instance, like we talked about, you got some of your cards graded with Rare Edition. When Rare Edition first came out, Rare Edition, I love the idea. I love the concept of scanning and what they were doing. A little bit thicker slab, but nothing came from it. Nothing came from it. I feel like they, as fast as they risen, they fell into darkness quickly. I don't even know if they're still around. I assume they are, but none of those other companies have really taken off. Maybe what was it, AGS? The remember the
Yeah,
automatic
we had
grading
a
over there.
automated. Yep.
There's another company. They seem like they have issues all the time. I think like having those type of issues and interrupting the flow of the hobby for new collectors and customers submitting for the first time, and they have that bad experience, that hurts the
Oh
hobby.
yeah, it does. It does.
It hurts it so bad. And Beckett has their own issues at times. PSA has their own issues, but a lot of these companies, those other three companies that I mentioned, they're still established. They've been around for a while. No one's perfect, but if you're going to go
Right.
with grading companies, I'd rather stick to the top dogs, focus on them, especially if I'm putting my cards in there and I, either want to collect them or put the value towards them. I'm going to go after one of the big three. And I'm going to understand black label TCGs or black labels in general. Vintage cards is SGC, and PSA is just the big dog in the room.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for value, I see the big companies for sure, but sometimes personal PC stuff, if you like the slabs or you like, some things that you can get from the information you can get from a company like, let's say, Tag, for instance,
Yeah.
has been growing, maybe more so on the TCG side of things than so the sports. I feel like I don't know if they've really dabbled a lot in sports. I don't know. I can't really say I've seen
No, I think they've
TCG
been
or
mostly
love
TCG.
sports, but TCG. So for me on the TCG side of things, like Tag is a company that I'm definitely keeping my eye on to see what they do in terms of the future. I've seen some sales, so we'll see what happens with them. But it's like obviously we have your big three, and then I've got my eyes on a few other companies. We're on different sides of the coin.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. I definitely don't disagree there, but and that's okay. This is what this is about. We're not going to agree on everything,
Oh,
and
of
the
course not.
hobby shouldn't agree on everything. This is what
Mm-mm.
makes a hobby a hobby, to have open discussion on some of these items. So, chat, let us know in the comments below. Are you Team Andrew on this, or are you Team Juice on this? Team Jen or Team Juice? They're
Okay,
probably
okay.
going to say Team Jen a
Team
lot because
Juice. No, I don't know. I don't
people
know.
want to hate me. They live
Hate
to
you
hate
because
me.
they ain't you.
You know what that reminds that? Have you seen that meme of the Asian guy and the white guy? And it's
Uh-uh.
like, hey, that's because they ain't us. That's you and I. I'm telling you. I'm gonna send it to
Oh,
you.
gotcha,
I'm gonna
gotcha,
send it
gotcha.
to you. I'm gonna
All
send it
right,
to
all
you.
right, all right. We'll
All
have to
right.
take a look.
Let's talk about just let's talk about breaking.
Hmm.
Let's talk about, is there any concerns with fairness and ethics in card breaking across the board?
Ooh, that's an interesting one.
Now, I'll give you time to think on this. I will say, I am I am a believer in, if you're getting in sports card breaking, I highly recommend that you watch breakers first before you get into their communities or their breaks. And I feel that if you do get into their communities and breaks, you should be looking at their community as well as just their breaks when you're jumping in. And a reason why I say that is because a good breaker has a really good community,
Hmm.
and I promote the hell out of this guy because I truly think he's awesome. Two
Oh,
people,
thank you,
Louisville,
thank you. No.
not you. No, I'm just playing. So there's really two people that I promote the hell out of, and you promote them as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
Louisville Sports Cards and Hitman Rips.
Yep.
Louisville Sports Cards from day one has been somebody we broke with. You started breaking with them, and then I jumped in. Their community and what they have and their transparency has been phenomenal.
Yep.
Now, no disrespect to them, but Hitman Rips came along. I watched some of his stuff. I jumped in. I personally think Hitman Rips is the best when it comes to breaking in general, with the community that he has, how he runs giveaways, how he runs like free races for store credit, how he has mixers and everything else. Both are two different ends of the spectrum, because Hitman's not a legitimate shop yet. Like, he's getting a shop and he's opening up and he'll
Yeah.
be there, but he's breaker first and foremost, and that's what he 100% focuses on.
Hmm.
Louisville Sports Cards is your traditional card shop. They've had some, they have a phenomenal store. They have a wealth of knowledge across all types of cards. And they have some really cool people running their breaks, and G and Adam. It's two different feels, two different
Right. They were
strategies.
more of a store that got into
Right.
breaking, and Hitman is more of a breaker who's now getting into a store.
Yeah. So you can look at it two different ways, but those are two prime perfect examples of really amazing communities, really amazing owners and shops, and really amazing breakers.
Hmm.
So there's, however, on the flip side, there are a lot of bad breakers, and a lot of breakers that are in the news recently for stealing cars, for taking giveaways. There's obviously the backyard breaks BS that originally started way back in the day, like 2020, where they pulled like that Trevor Lawrence Kaboom gold from a freebie, and then they didn't want to ship it, which that should have never came across their minds. Like,
Yeah.
if you thought about that, you are a moron. You
Right.
should have never even, that should have never crossed your mind. You're sending the card. It
Right.
is what it is. Like,
Right.
you turned a huge
You're
promotion for
taking one
yourself.
card, yeah, to ruin your entire reputation is
Yeah.
not like we've always talked about this, and it's like it's easy to ruin your reputation, but it's so hard to build it, which is why we never really worked with any sponsors or anything like
Yep.
that. It's just because we don't want to promote a product if we don't believe in it, if we haven't used it, just for the sake of getting a sponsorship deal.
Yep.
So it's like we value like the honesty, the truth behind the company. We want to make sure if we put our name behind something like GA grading, that we know the people, we trust the work that's being done. It's clearly transparent and it's something we feel comfortable with, you know.
Yep.
So it's why, we try not to promote too many like other breaks other than the breakers we know and we trust and we would put our own money into
Right.
doing. So
And I think that's a big. I'm glad you brought putting our own money into it. I think that's a big thing too. That there's a lot of people out there that have opinions, and that join the bandwagon on dogging someone without
Mhm.
actually putting their own money in.
Right.
I'm not saying the hate isn't justified towards certain people, but also at the same exact time, before I'm just flat out say, before you open your mouth, you should probably put your own money into it and see what it's really about. And that's kind of what I did with Backyard Breaks. I bought into, probably for a month straight, I bought into their breaks, and we created a video. And believe it or not, that video, a lot of people didn't even watch it. But that video was talking about their
The
packs,
repacks.
and I've recorded an entire session, and just wanted to see what it was about. And I mean, a lot of their repacks were garbage. They had a lot of um, repacks where a card was supposed to be like the floor, but it was like $200 less than the floor. It was not great at all. But there is a video up about that. I don't want to make this a conversation just about backyard breaks, but there's also other breakers, and this is where the whatnot piece comes in, where they're even on whatnot over the past couple of months. I mean, how many times have we seen breakers pull a card and then they delete their stream, and they pulled an epic card and won't send it off or something like that? And
Right, and
thankfully,
it took the community to step in and put a lot of heat on and pressure. I think one of them was the Yamin Yamal.
yep,
I think it was like a 101 or Black Shimmer or some
something
really
along
low
those lines.
numbered like big banger card, and then suddenly disappeared. But luckily, the community was in such an uproar; it brought so much attention. Guy actually got his card.
Yep. And then there's
Uh,
been some other examples where the community did reach out, and for say platforms like a whatnot, they stepped up and they fixed a lot of these issues, and they either banned people or so forth like that. When you're in breaks like on Facebook, um, it's really hard to police that.
yeah,
Really hard to police that. And when it comes down to ethics and fairness, I think the biggest thing is you got to find the ability to police, but also, um, it's really just police. You got to find a
yeah,
way to police it and making sure things are done fairly.
yeah.
These one-off willy nillys, you could blast somebody all you want, but if they delete their account, you're pretty much screwed, really.
Yeah.
So to land the plane there, kind of asked you at the beginning of this, do you see any other concerns with fairness or ethics in the car breaking community that maybe you would change? Let's add that to it. Like, let's add that twist at the end. Is there anything that you would change?
I mean, it's tough with the breaking side of things, but it's again just has to come down to uh, transparency.
Yeah.
Making sure cards and stuff always on screen. You
Yep.
always know like what teams you have, and everything is visible. You can watch it again, like with YouTube, like Hitman's YouTube streams. You can always go back, check the streams, see if what cards you're supposed to hit. Did you get them in the mail? If not, obviously you can reach out. They'll take a look into it, and then they'll make sure that everything is up in the up. So, the biggest thing is just transparency, and that comes down to just like you said before you invest and jump into all of these breaks, watch the breakers, see how they operate. Do you feel comfortable with the way that they run their breaks, they run their community? If so, hey, hop into those breaks. If not, you can find another breaker. There's tons of them on the Whatnot platform, the Loop
TikTok.
platform, TikTok. I mean, there's tons of places you can find breakers. So just always just be careful
Yep.
who you get involved with, and then just make sure
100%.
that's
100%.
it. Yeah.
So you kind of talked about ways to improve, and that leads us to our last point during this segment. And it's just, let's talk briefly about how to improve, other suggestions for improving the hobby in 2025. maybe let's discuss a little bit of the transparency of kind of what you talked about and just building a community
Hey,
in general.
the best way to start off 2025 is if Panini and Tops will just get friendly with each other and stop trying to, you know, flop around, see who's got the bigger dick, and just say, like, hey, let's do it what's good for the hobby, not for, and at the same time, we can pad our pockets a little bit, but let's do it for the hobby, because the way things are going now, it's not going to be conducive to bringing in new people into the hobby.
And we have like another like 2 years of this, like a year
Yeah,
and
I
a half.
know, right? So
Like
if
even though
it's
it's
starting out like this, it's not good. So it's
yeah,
not going to, so hopefully it gets better and this is the worst it's going to be, but I mean, who knows?
yeah, agreed. Um, for improving the hobby as an individual collector, a buyer, a seller, um, research and patience in certain things is key. There's going to be a lot of individuals, like for instance, if you are buying and selling, I would start on a small scale. I would try to understand the cards because there's a lot of stuff being printed right now um, that is just not worth it. You need to understand what the card collector really wants. You also understand the best cards in the hobby based on others' opinion. Maybe not your own, but others' opinion. And where I'm getting at with is you can look up and you can see what sells, what sells more frequently,
Mhm.
a Prism football card or an Illusions football card. I'll tell you,
Right.
the Prism football is the more desirable card over Illusions. So I'd probably stay away from Illusions. National Treasures, Flawless. Some of those bigger cards are there from an auto standpoint. Panini Contenders from a baseball standpoint. It's the Bowman or the top Chrome baseball or the prospects with the Bowman Chrome. There's find your niche, your little area you want to collect in, and potentially buy and sell. Start small and understand if it's football. Understand what the most popular football cards are, and then focus on those. Do not. I've seen so many people just start buying the player's name and not care about the type of card,
Right.
and then they get screwed over on spending a lot of money because they're buying into hype of a player's name, but of a shitty set. Like
Right.
Zenith. Zenith has these case hits that kind of look like kabooms, like zooms, I think they're called. People lost their minds for over a zoom. And like say, for instance, and I'm just throwing the numbers out there for this conversation. The percentage is close, the dollar amount might not be. But let's just say a CJ Stroud when Zooms first came out was $1,000 for the sake of this conversation. That same CJ Stroud rookie Zoom is probably 250 bucks.
Right.
People want the downtowns more. They want kabooms more. They don't want zooms.
Right.
So those are the type of things. If I'm a collector going into 2025, that's where I would improve. I would be patient.
Also, I would say, like, also joining communities,
Yes.
like join a Hitman's community or join the Loot
Loot
Box
box too.
community.
Loot box
Yeah,
community
or
Discord.
Loot Box, yeah,
Loot
Discord.
boxes.
Link down below. Or like if you're a big fan of Ryan, join. I don't know if he has a community like a Discord or whatever,
Yeah.
but
Card collector.
like link up with Card Collector 2, his community, Mojo, his community. All of these other people that have communities, join them, ask questions, like,
Yeah.
and there'll be always a plethora of people there, whether they respond directly to the questions themselves or other members in the community. They can help guide you and kind of like show you, like, hey, if you're trying to get into football, here's some products to look into, and then find player cards in these specific products where you can, better spend your money than maybe some of these other products. So I
Yeah.
think I hope to see a lot more communities pop up in 2025 to help the new collectors who obviously are coming into a very confusing time period of licensing going back and forth and products being printed for the sake of grabbing money, and help guide these new collectors into what they feel is a good way to spend their money, and not to burn these new people in the hobby.
Yeah. And that's the big thing. In order for this hobby to grow and stay stable, you can't screw over newcomers, and you got to be there if you feel like you're a figure in this hobby, you have a duty to help newcomers, whether you
Hmm.
like it or not. Like Jen and I, we have a duty to be as transparent as we possibly can be to help everybody as much as we possibly can help with. And that's by either putting them in the right direction, providing information, or sharing our experiences. If you are a figure in this hobby and you choose not to do that and you choose to screw over people and just worry about yourself, you are a problem in this hobby, whether
If
you
you
like
want
it
to
or
know
not.
whether buying Prism cards are a good idea or opening Prism boxes, check out our channel, type in Prism,
And
look
just
at our success rate, and you will know exactly what the answer is. Like
facts.
if you are ever curious, go back and look at the products we've opened, the amount of money we've spent, what we've gotten out of it, and then make your decisions there. Because clearly it's going to be obvious that it's probably better to wait and buy the cards than try to buy a $1,200 box in hopes that you hit the rookie quarterback of the year that year and try to flip it for like $20,000. Like,
Yeah.
is that going to happen? Maybe once in a blue moon. But on average, are you gonna get your EV back? No. So hey, that's why we're here. That's why we open a lot of product, because A, it's fun to open, but B, it also shows you without having to take that risk what the true risks are of opening product. In
100%.
the boom landscape, in the now landscape, and in the future landscape, you'll get to see like what was it worth it? Was it not? And you guys can make your own
We
decisions.
nearly have 5 years of documentation of doing that already for you. It's there. It's
Yeah,
there. It's
yeah.
there. Jen, what do you have as a goal for yourself and for Lootbox in 2025?
Ooh, wow. So personal goal, probably I'm definitely cleaning out my collection and definitely becoming a more focused collector. Before
Love
I
it.
was a more of a broad collector, and now I'm trying to focus down on specifics. And then for the overall goal for Lootbox, I definitely love to see us hit a pretty good milestone. Maybe get to 200,000 subs by the end
Wow.
of the year, and also attend more shows. Now that you're on the West Coast, we'll have a little bit more access, easier access to the shows over in the West Coast. So
Yeah.
hopefully that'll be a little bit more eye opening for us who have always attended a lot of the East Coast shows. So I'm definitely looking to travel more to shows like I'd love to go back to Dallas. I'd
Yep.
love to go to Burbank,
Yep.
things like that, visit more shops on the West Coast. And so I think traveling more for Lootbox will be a good goal for us to have.
I love it. Love it. For myself, personal goal, I am getting married this year. So that's kind of crazy. So that's I mean, that's a goal. It's happening.
It
Let's
is.
let's hope everything goes smoothly there. I think it will. I think it will. Also, personal goal. I've been losing weight like crazy. I'm down to like when I started this journey, I was like 300 and some odd pounds. I don't want to get too detailed, but I'm now like about to be under 270 for the first time in a little bit. So I am trying my best to lose some weight there, and it's working out.
I'll
So those
definitely
are
say though, ever since you left your job, that level of stress being out of your life, I think that's what's helped a lot on your weight loss goal. Because I know you've
thank
been trying when you were here, but I think the stress from work
you. Yeah.
was really being a negative effect, and that just goes to show you how stress can play a big negative role in any weight loss journey
Yep.
or just your daily lives. I think I feel much better since I left my job about and not having that stress in terms of like health, in
Yep.
terms of happiness, in terms of like how I look forward to the different things that I can do and the freedom I have. So stress is a big thing. Make sure like people always say, go out and touch some grass. It
Yep.
doesn't hurt to go out and enjoy your
Agreed.
time away from the computer screen. So kudos.
And I've been doing more of that, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then for loot box, I'm down for the 200K goal. It's going to take a lot, but we always love a good challenge. I want to get back to being consistent over the past like 2 months. we've been we've been talking more behind the scenes, with the content drastically changing a little bit. Um, we just wanted to make sure that we get set up and really prep for this brand new year, 2025, and just really set our goals. And that's kind of what we did. So being more consistent with content, getting to that 200K mark. Right now, the loot box has like three different avenues. We're going to have this show that Jen and I have been working on behind the scenes.
Mhm.
Hopefully it takes off. I think it'd be really good. It's definitely a fresh breath of air for a lot of individuals, and I think it'd be something that is needed. I think there's a lot of bias in the hobby at the moment for some of these people that do something similar. So hopefully we could change that bias. Also, I've been doing some live streams, and you jump on there and play some games with me. But we're also, you could beat me in Madden, you get it slab. That's been kind of working its way through it, and I've been giving away a lot of slabs. Been giving away a lot of slabs,
Oh
people.
yeah. Oh yeah.
People have been coming out of the woodworks, but it's a way to get back to the community and have some fun and create that community. And the third pillar is doing these day in a life vlogs, where I share just basically transparency of sales, going to card shows, stuff like that when you come to visit. So those three pillars are going to help us build that loot box community. And a goal of for Lootbox for me outside of the subscriber mark is get our Discord to 20,000 users.
Ooh, let's go.
So that's going to be my main focus. I really want to build a community. I really want to focus on that and continue to grow. But yeah, that's our 2025 goals. It's crazy that 2024 is gone.
Yeah.
When this is live, it's 2025.
Yeah.
That is crazy. That is absolutely crazy. It's been a wild
I'm
year.
gonna enjoy the show when I think you still have 3 more streams to do, right? For Whatnot.
Yes, yes.
So
Three
in
more.
January. So
Yeah.
once February rolls around, I'm gonna enjoy putting you in the hot seat and then having the community ask questions about being a seller and whatnot and grilling you and
Oh, let's do
seeing
it.
what your total experience was with everything. Because
I'll share the dashboard too. I'll share
oh, okay, okay.
sales. I'll sell cards. I just got to make sure I don't expose anybody's names or anything. But
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
try
yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah. But like
I'll,
I
I
said, once February rolls around, I can't wait to
let's do
do
it.
a deep dive because they've reached out to me to sell on their platform, and
Right.
I've been kind of debating the idea and looking to get into buy some products and stocks and stuff to have to sell, but I'd like to get your take on it before
Sure.
I dip my toes in.
Dip those toesies
So
in. Those beautiful
yeah,
toes
can't
made of
can't can't
cloth.
wait till February comes around.
Deal. Well, Jen, man, I appreciate the time. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. I mean,
Of course,
our journey
always.
together has been phenomenal. And I can't wait to see what we do in 2025. And for everybody else out there, thank you so much for coming through. Truly appreciate every single one of you. And yeah, if you guys want to leave any comments below of what topics we should cover, questions you might have, we'd be more than happy to answer them in the next episode. And until next time, we'll talk to you soon. Deuces.
Deuces.